November 14th, 1940. Coventry sleeps under a blackout sky. At 7:20 p.m., a Heinkel 111 rides a radio beam toward the city's heart. For 11 hours, the Luftwaffe drops 500 tons of high explosive and 30,000 incendiaries. At dawn, a cathedral is skeleton stone, 568 civilians are dead, and 2/3 of the city is flame or rubble. Fighter command intercepts nothing. Zero. And this is not an exception, this is the rule. From September 1940 to May 1941, the Blitz kills more than 43,000 people. At night, at 15,000 feet, human eyes are worthless. A bomber can pass 200 yards away and remain invisible. Spitfires and Hurricanes, perfect in sunlight, are blind. Controllers try to make geometry beat darkness. Chain home stations see raids crossing the coast and vector night fighters into close enough volumes of sky. But their 2-mile horizontal and 1,000-foot vertical errors create a search bubble the size of a county, and inside it the target occupies a thimble. Pilots fly blind Marco Polo until fuel runs out or bombs fall. A few controllers become savants, reading noisy scopes like tea leaves. Success still hovers at 5%. For every bomber found, 19 go home. Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding understands the verdict. Day belongs to the RAF. Night belongs to fire. If Britain is going to live, it needs radar inside the fighter, eyes where the pilot's eyes can't reach. Not next year. Now. The box nobody wanted. Edward Taffy Bowen, 27 and stubborn, is told to shrink a radar station into something that flies. The first airborne interception sets, AI MacArthur III-4, are monstrous by cockpit standards. Transmitter, receiver, power supply, display, 600 pounds of vacuum tubes and heat with a 5-inch green eye for a scope. Range. In dreams, 3 miles. Minimum range. 400 feet. So the picture disappears just when you should be seeing the target. The first Beaufighters arrive with these hotbox stowaways. Early sorties and in smoke, nausea and curses. Sets fail to calibrate. Antennas ice up. The glow ruins night vision. Serviceability hovers around 30-something%. Squadrons file the paperwork version of swearing, remove this rubbish. They are not wrong. The equipment is heavy, fickle, and, so far, useless. And still, the teams at Bordsey and the shop floors keep at it, because underneath the temper and the failures is a right idea. The lie about carrots and the truth about skill. John Cat's eyes. Cunningham starts to score. So do a handful of crews whose operators can read the twitch of a trace and turn it into range, bearing, and fate. The Air Ministry feeds the press a decoy. Vitamin A carrots give Cunningham superhuman night vision. Posters bloom. Carrots help you see in the blackout. It's patriotic nutrition and perfect misdirection. The real recipe is brutal practice. Operators like Jimmy Rawnsley learn to talk a pilot into a kill through a device that fails half the time and lies a quarter more. Their cadence becomes music. Contact 2 miles, slightly left, port 5, steady, range closing 1.5, half a mile. Target climbing. You should have visual, now. And suddenly there is the Heinkel. Exhaust flicker, blacker than black wings. Cannons speak. One more bomber will never find London. By early 1941, the concept works often enough to matter. Not enough to stop the Blitz. Enough to prove the path. The treasure in a black box, February 1940, Birmingham. John Randall and Harry Boot pull a future out of copper cavities. The cavity magnetron. Old AI sets shout on meter-long wavelengths and blur the world. The magnetron sings at 10 centimeters and carves the night into detail. Resolution leaps, weight drops, range stretches. Britain can invent it. Bombed Britain can't build enough. So a small delegation, The Tizard mission carries a black metal box across the Atlantic. Inside, a magnetron worth more than gold. In Cambridge, Massachusetts, the radiation lab looks, understands, and industrializes. In months, America is shipping magnetrons back by the thousands. Now the RAF can field AI Mach-7 and Mach-8. Plan position displays that make sense at a glance. 6 to 8 mile detection, a smaller blind zone, lighter, steadier, fixable. Mosquito night fighters arrive to carry them, fast, agile, with room in the nose for antennas and a cockpit that puts pilot and operator shoulder to shoulder so words don't die in engine noise. Training catches up. Operators no longer get 20 hours and a prayer. They get 200 simulators and instructors who've already bled for the lessons. Ground crews receive proper test gear, manuals, and spares. Serviceability flips from embarrassment to pride. 8 aircraft out of 10 have a working set on any given night. From useless to unfair, the kill curve bends. In 1941, AI-equipped fighters down on the order of 80-plus bombers. In 1942, roughly twice that. In 1943, more still. Then comes the baby blitz of early 1944, Hitler's rage campaign against London, and the RAF turns it into a lesson. A typical night looks like this. Ground radar paints the raid. Controllers push a Mosquito to 10 miles. The onboard set blossoms with contacts. The operator picks one and threads the pilot in from below and behind. At 2 miles, exhaust plumes appear. At a mile, the silhouette, Ju-88 or He-111, sits in the windshield. At 300 feet, the blip falls into the blind spot. But by then, the bomber is right there. 4 Hispano cannons cut gravity's rope. The MOSI rolls, and the operator is already sliding the cursor to the next target. Losses on some nights hit nearly 20% of sorties. No bomber force can live in that climate. German crews don't just die, they hesitate, then refuse. Morale collapses. Reports list aircraft missing due to weather that the sea keeps as secrets. Number 85, Squadron, which once ferried the earliest AI bows into combat and paid for everyone's learning curve, leads tallies. Number 29 goes intruder hunting over France, killing bombers on climb out and on return, where controllers can't help and flak can. Number 604, the unit that tried to bin the boxes, finishes the war with nearly 100 night victories. The carrot posters stay up. The Germans never quite guessed the truth until it's too late. By the spring of 1944, Britain can run factories and ports through the night. The logistical miracle for D-Day, harbors, vehicles, ammunition, floating piers, mountains of fuel, builds under a sky the Luftwaffe can't enter without paying blood it doesn't have. What it changed? Beyond the Blitz. The technical lineage is as straight. AI radar becomes standard doctrine. Radar first, eyeballs to confirm. The 2-person combat crew, the pilot and the sensor shrunk weapons brain, evolves into the modern pilot WSO team. Ground-controlled intercept grows into comprehensive command and control. The magnetron seeds naval search radar that finds periscopes, gun-laying radar that swats dive bombers, and, in peacetime, the microwave oven that hums in your kitchen. There's a darker inheritance. Every improvement in seeing breeds a countermeasure to hide. Jammers, decoys, deceptive returns. Then shapes and materials that bend or drink radar beams. Stealth. The cat-and-mouse game that started over Coventry now plays everywhere from the Baltic to the South China Sea. It never ends. But in 1944, standing in an ops room watching tote boards light as Mosquito crews write their initials across the night, the meaning is simple. The Luftwaffe that burned Coventry is broken as an offensive weapon. Not gone, war will wring one more year from it, but broken. The numbers, hundreds of bombers destroyed, are more than numbers. Each tick mark is a family that will wake up. a factory that will not stop, a convoy that will sail on schedule. The price of getting there. This was not a miracle. It was persistence. Engineers working 18 hours beside ovens of valves that failed, crews sweating in cockpits heated by transmitters while frost filmed the canopy, operators learning to hear truth in noise. It was months of no joy, and near collisions in the 400-foot blind zone, and 100 little fixes. Better cabling, drier housings, clearer symbology, sturdier antennas, smarter procedures. It was squadrons that swallowed pride, flew the overweight Beaufighters because they were asked to, and kept flying until Mosquitoes arrived and made the bargain feel fair. On paper, AI began as a 600-pound liability. By war's end, it was a war-winning capability. The night did not become safe. It became contested, and that was enough to change the shape of the war. May 1945 brings morning. Britain stands, battered, exhausted, but unbroken. Between the first useless boxes and that bright day lay a single idea hammered into reality. Put the pilot's eyes on a screen and teach a second set of eyes to read it like a language. Do that, and even a moonless sky can be mapped, hunted, and, finally, held.